I once said that Arcane has some of the best character writing that I have ever seen. Now with season 2 and the show closing, I maintain that statement. There are so many complex narratives and interweaving of motivations and morality through most of, if not all of the cast. But much like last time, I need to focus on one character. One character that, like last season, thoroughly impressed me with how he was written. I'm talking, of course, about Viktor. The thing about Arcane that I find fascinating is, like any piece of meaningful art, it challenges you to find meaning through the experiences on screen. Viktor is the themes of Arcane made manifest, and through him we get a look into why the story is so impactful to so many people, including myself. A disabled character where his disability is not disregarded and affects him as a character, but also isn't what defines him. It just makes him a beautiful, inseparable piece of everything. One who is driven by a desire to make a meaningful impact on humanity, and what is the logical conclusion of that desire? In season 1, we saw Viktor as a genius running out of time, which drove him to take drastic action leading to his tragic downfall. He attempts to remediate his mistakes and feels the need to atone for the death of Skye. Jace steps in and offers another way to make things right, which leads him on the right path until...
What could have been?
Jace wasn't lying when he said,
My partner died in this room.
Viktor isn't breathing. And if you freeze frame on the impact frames, you can see his spinal column is snapped in two. Viktor truly did die in the explosion, and the Hex Core rebuilt and revived him. While some parts of Viktor remain, he is now almost a new character. He feels betrayed by Jace because he made him make a promise to him to destroy the Hex Core. Not only did our not-so-lovable turned-lovable himbo not do that, he fused the Hex Core into Viktor's body, altering and forever changing him. He leaves because he feels that their paths diverged long ago, which he's right. Jace was focused on controlling Hextech and placing safeguards around it, and playing the politics game around Hextech. Viktor, on the other hand, has been focused on the wild nature of the Arcane, and the implications that it could have to help people. People that need healing. This is when we get our first glimpses of Skye again. A figure who still haunts Viktor, now a manifestation of his guilt, his dreams, and his humanity. One whose blood is directly on his hands because of the Hex Core. It's not a coincidence that the manifestation of his humanity is the one that he failed. She leads him to a shimmer camp at the base of Zaun, to those who need the help the most. And there is a special kind of irony that happens there. Huck, the man who...
I just wanted to feel what it was like to be somebody.
Is the first to both be healed and transformed by Viktor. Viktor is no longer bound by time, and he has the means to heal people with Hextech. Heal and transform. And while we've had hints of the Messiah imagery surrounding Viktor, it becomes heavy-handed here. But it definitely gets the point across. Viktor is forcibly changing people and leading them into a utopic state of oneness, but Viktor is healing people, but he's also taking away their right of choice, assimilating them into a hive mind. Viktor still believes that he's doing good, and in his own words,
We have to make it right.
he's making things right to both himself and to Skye. There is still a good man in there, but now it's fighting with the monster of obsession. When Vander is brought to him, he's willing to take the risk and potentially sacrifice himself to bring him back. Both are fighting a monster that has become entangled in their psyche, both against their own will. And I think that's one of the reasons why Viktor fights so hard to save him. To prove that he can still be saved himself. He's still trying to do good and is unwilling to give up on his humanities and principles. Even when Singed confronts him, we see that while his philosophy and methods may have changed, the end goal remains the same. Helping. In a prior video, I said that Arcane can be summed up as tragedy, moments before triumph. And, well, here's where we see desire manifest into obsession.
Is also the cause of our greatest evil.
During the time at the commune, we are meant to feel like something is off, that not all is as it first appears. First, the commune is living in harmony, but they aren't fully alive. In the Hexgate chamber, we see Jace's breath in the cold environment, but not Sallow's. They are no longer individuals, but rather one host controlling all. This is taken a step further when Viktor evolves Huck into the first glorious being. All pretenses are gone and the insidious nature of the evolution becomes apparent. Huck is nothing more than a puppet of the host, but Viktor still holds on to his humanity and reaches out to Jace one last time. It's not until Jace rejects him does he fully give up on his humanity and tell the doctor to proceed. Bringing us to The Line, my personal favorite song and scene of season 2. A scene that starts out with Viktor attempting to apologize for leaving his humanity and morals behind, and being closed off with,
"You won't."
As he watches his vision of Miss Young, his last shred of who he was, be dissolved and swept away, becoming fused with the psychological monster of obsession as well as the physical monster consuming Vander, destroying both the man that fought so hard for his family and the man that fought so hard for his ideals. I actually did a deep dive on this song over on Patreon. If you want to support the channel, you can go check that out. The next we see Viktor, he's completely altered. A mask of perfection now splits his face in two, a physical representation of the obsession to find perfection, literally ripping him in half. He even has his old invention morphed into a runic halo mocking him and who he's become. He crosses every line that he ever placed on himself and his research in pursuit of the ultimate question of how to save humanity. He tells Jace,
"Choice is false."
which is the first time he has directly gone against his own morals.
There is always a choice.
Viktor has become so focused on the solution that he has abandoned everything that made him who he was. A poor cripple from the Undercity that had a dream. A man that was worried that his contributions to science would be soon forgotten, even in the longest memories. That even while he was dying, was still viewing the results of his research through the lens of what it could mean to help other people. A man who was supposed to die for his hubris and was given a second chance. Whose desire for helping those in need became an obsession that finally consumed him, leading him to solve the ultimate question. The way to save humanity is to save it from itself. To strip away all that makes us human in favor of a total state of oneness. The only thing that is able to contend with Viktor's logic is time, both literally and figuratively. In his celestial state, we get a moment of the facade cracking, his mask becoming partially destroyed and him being aware and ashamed of his flaws, turning from a godlike state and stature back into the broken man that we've come to know. Jace then pulls the biggest rug pull of the series so far by showing what he did and why he did it. Now, I can nitpick the twist by saying Mage Viktor doesn't have the same hand tattoos that we saw the mage that saves Jace in season 1, but I really hope that was just a small oversight from the team and not them altering the story pathway partway through writing. Because this twist, that Viktor was behind it all, trying every option and possibility to get things right, works for his character so well. While, yes, this trope of saving humanity from itself has been done and reiterated on so many times at this point, I'm glad that they did this, if only because we get this incredible line.
But when every equation was solved, all that remained were fields of dreamless solitude.
Viktor finally realizes that the reason why humanity is beautiful is because of its imperfections. The uniqueness of always having a choice. And once again, he chooses to make things right. Only this time, he has Jace's steady hand helping guide him once again as partners. What follows is one of, if not the most beautifully animated sequence as I Promised You swells in the background. Jace fulfills his promise to both Viktor in the past, who asked him to destroy the Hex Core, and to Mage Viktor to stop the glorious evolution. The anomaly closes in around them and they hold on to one another. Viktor and Jace repair what was broken and become pulled into the Arcane. The only remnants of what was dissolving as Jace's hammer crumbles into dust. Yes, Viktor and Jace were in love. And I think this is the greatest media literacy test of the whole show, because they were dropping hints about this since the two of them met in season 1. And while I love Violin, gods do I love Kate Vi. The romance shown between Jace and Viktor is some Studio Ghibli levels of deeply passionate love that breaks the physical bonds of the known universe. And before we get into it, yes, you are free to interpret the media as you wish. Yes, I know that one of the co-creators came out and said that they are not in a relationship with each other. But I don't think he communicated his opinion to the other creators, writers, or animators, who all very clearly thought that these two should be in a relationship. From their first interaction, there was tension, and the writers have been slow burning us with every single interaction. So let's go through them, shall we? And then you can tell me if this was forced or not. Jace catches Viktor's eye during the trial and we see how he reacts to Jace's dream. Then, just look at the look he gives him when he tells him his name. When they break into the lab, Viktor's first instinct is to say that it wasn't his room. So, Viktor is clearly not in the closet, let's be real here. As they experiment and have their first success, you can see how they look at each other floating around through the room, and Viktor keeps the cog that Jace sends through the portal as a personal memento. After the time skip, we see more scenes of how close they are. Viktor anticipating Jace's touch, Jace's hands shaking when Viktor's condition takes a downturn. When Viktor makes progress with the Hex Core, he says,
"It could be the key to augmenting physiology, extending life,
and Jace's response is only,
curing you."
He stops Heimerdinger from destroying the Hex Core and even votes him off the council. Not because of the stagnation of politics, not because of the implications Viktor's work has when it comes to helping people, not for the progress. He did it because there was a chance to save Viktor. Viktor's response when Singed hands him the vial of modified shimmer and warns him, what does he say?
Jace will understand.
Not the council will understand. Not the professor will understand. Not Piltover will understand. Not even they will understand. No. Jace will understand. When he interrupts Viktor's attempt, then starts talking about the Young Inventors Fair. Do you remember the thing that we did? I remember you. Jace brings Viktor with him to the council to announce the news that a deal has been brokered. A unified front of both Piltover and Zaun. And you notice something? He calls Viktor a Zaunite, not someone from the Undercity. Interesting choice of words there. After the rocket, Jace carries Viktor's corpse in his arms for 5 blocks to the laboratory, breaks his promise, and uses the Hex Core in a last-ditch attempt to save him. He doesn't leave Viktor's side, staying day and night to monitor him in the hopes that he will wake up, clutching his cane lovingly. When he does wake up, he pours his heart out to him, after checking him out about 5 times, but ultimately lets him walk away. And you notice how Viktor's voice returns to be more human anytime he speaks to Jace?
It was affection. that held us together.
He continues to keep the blanket that Jace gave him despite not feeling the effects of the cold. When next they meet, Viktor is genuinely happy to see him again.
Jace.
When Jace comes to kill Viktor to stop the glorious evolution, both of their eyes are shimmering. And fun fact, the backing track to this scene is called Vow. Look where Jace aimed the blast. Right at the fucking hex core. He was trying to destroy the hex core and still find a way to save Viktor. Granted, it's not possible, but he still tried. He was honoring his vow to destroy the hex core to both Viktors at the same time. During the fight between evolved Huck, Jace, and Mel, watch Viktor's reaction to getting attacked by Mel, and then getting attacked by Jace. Also, this shot, and they were roommates. Speaking of Mel, let's talk a little bit about the parallels between Mel and Viktor real quick. In season 1, Mel and Jace sleeping together was played parallel to Viktor succumbing to the influence of the Arcane and the Hex Core. And nothing in this show is a mere coincidence. The act of indulging in what you know you shouldn't being mirrored for both Jace and Viktor as they begin to go their separate ways. Mel forcing a wedge in between them and influencing Jace's actions to go against Viktor's morals. When Jace fell down a well and began to go a little bit insane, he watched his desire for Mel be burned away only to be left by Viktor. To even how Viktor watched Mel approach Jace and then mimicked the way she walked to try to be more appealing to him? Anyways, it's not until Jace rejects him does he fully give up his humanity. When next we see him as the Herald, his voice still falters and becomes more human when conversing with Jace.
I am pleased to see you.
As Jace is being pulled into the Matrix, he delivers one of the most beautiful declarations of love. When time is thrown at Viktor and his mask breaks, he hides away from Jace, hides what makes him feel vulnerable and unworthy. And Jace doesn't just touch him on the shoulder to share with him what he saw, he gives him a declaration of love and embraces him. Every person that became evolved through the glorious evolution did so into perfect, beautifully formed drones. Except for Jace, because in Viktor's eyes, he was already perfect and beautifully formed. When Viktor touches the husk of Jace to give him back his hammer, the husk's eyes move to the touch, and then back to Jace. And then we get hit with,
In all timelines, in all possibilities, only you can show me this.
which is up there with Song of Achilles and Howl's Moving Castle as for one of the reasons why my standards for love are so high. Jace giving back the rune and staying with Viktor. Viktor still being afraid of death, and Jace, who has now seen so much death, comforting him. Jace being afraid of the pain, and Viktor, who has lived with pain his whole life, comforting him in return. Culminating in one of the most powerful sequences in the entire show. And history will say that they were good friends. Their relationship is so complex and intricate and beautiful, it honestly shatters my heart. A connection that was built over the course of 2 seasons, subtly driving each other's actions to the aid and benefit of the other. A story of meeting each other in every possible iteration and timeline until they can finally be together. And yes, I know the co-creator said that they are dead, but that means that either A, in my headcanon, they are floating around in the Arcane eternally together, or B, there is no timeline or possibility where one can exist without the other. And for me, they are both equally and beautifully poetic. Viktor is the character that I resonated with the most in season 1. He was the character that drove me to make YouTube videos to start talking about storytelling. He was a beautifully written character that going into season 2, I was worried he wouldn't get the villain arc he deserved or be relegated to the background. But I couldn't be more wrong. Arcane's story is told through the sisters, but its plot is driven by Viktor, with some help from Jace. Through Viktor's story, we see the themes of love, passion, a desire to do good, the tragic downfall of obsession, and the redemption of finding your way again. Viktor is one of those characters that means so much to me that I really struggled to write this video. Because how can you say everything that there is to say about this character? Viktor's story will impact me for years to come. He is a crowning achievement in writing. An outsider, a poor cripple from the Undercity that had a dream, lost his way, discovered the faults of humanity, made things right, and changed the world without asking for permission, all while being a beautiful, inseparable part of everything. Hey, you made it to the end of the video. Thank you for supporting the channel. If you want to support the channel further, you can watch more videos that are up on the channel. Or you can go ahead and check out the Patreon, where I have extra Patreon content and things that I can't upload to YouTube. And also, if you look down below, there will be a link to the Discord where people just talk about film or the world or whatever they want to talk about. So, as always, I try to end off these videos just off the top of my head what I can think, and really the only thing that I can think of is to say thank you. Arcane and Viktor mean a lot to me, and thank you for watching the entire video.